Hi, everybody. Whew. You know, it has been such a long time, and I also don't know how to start because I forgot how to do the YouTube thing is. But nevertheless, um, just like it was the first time that I started hitting the record button and start recording and doing the thing that I love to do. I'll just continue like that. My name is Memory Karunga. If it is your first time, and if you are golden oldie, thank you very much for coming back. You guys know how we roll here. Just checking in if the mic is still on. You guys know how we roll here. Here we talk about God. We do a little bit of vlogging, lifestyle, but mostly what we do is talk about God. And I have been not so consistent in this year because God has been so faithful in other areas. But I don't also want to neglect the area that God has called me to, because this is a platform that one can just take your time, express yourself. Short term content is nice, but then you don't have time to like dive deep into it. You feel me? But here you can sit down and you talk about the things that concern our society. I know that people want a lot of moving around and vlogging and stuff. But that is not just where I'm at this point in time. I hate vlogging. Vlogging takes like my whole energy because you need to change your camera from this angle to the other angle. I'm not just for that. And I hope you understand. I definitely would know people that come back for this YouTube channel are the people that love the sit downs. They're not necessarily people that love the vlogging. So yes, here we do a little bit of vlogging here and there, but I really love sitting down and just talking because that's initially the reason why I started this YouTube channel, to sit down. In today's topic, if you've just checked at the subtitle, you would know, or the title of the video. We're talking about stepmothers. Yes. It's a subject that is not easy to touch. And every time you go on that subject, people feel like you're judging, you're mean, these kids are unfair. All that is there can be uttered by society name. Yeah. But then I decided today I'm gonna dive into it because I'm also a stepmother. I am also a mother. So why not talk about what I've been living and things that have worked for me, so that most probably you might also do the same thing. Being a mother in itself is not an easy job. Like, okay, for me, maybe you might find it very easy and you might find it entertaining. But boy, for me, I don't find being a mother as being an easy job. Being a mother is very hard because when people say marriage is hard, I don't agree. To some degree it can be, because marriage is what you make it to be. You have a choice to choose either to do the right thing or either to do the dumbest thing that people does in marriages. But being a parent, being a mother is the hardest thing that I've ever experienced in my lifetime. Why do I say so? God entrusts you with a human being that knows, like, it has a blank canvas, and then it's you that needs to set the foundation of writing on that canvas. Obviously, at some point, they've got to take their own coloring pencils or whatever they use to write on their own canvas. But you start the foundation of the canvas, which is very scary. How do I know which is the right foundation of putting whatever needs to be put in? I don't have all those expertise. I don't know if it is the right thing to do. I don't know, is it the right to scream on them? Is it good to just ignore them sometimes? Which form of discipline should I use? It is naturally a very difficult task to be a parent. And to top it off, like being a parent to your own child is already difficult. Now you need to be a parent to somebody else's child where you become the stepmother. Very, very difficult on its own also. Very controversial because already your own biological child won't also understand what you're trying to portray to them. Now, much more the stepchild. And when they don't also understand what you're trying to do, how you're trying to parent them, they feel like, no, she's doing it because she's not my mother. Those are all the challenges that we have as stepmothers. And these are things that are not spoken about. It's just brushed under the rug. And sometimes we follow our feelings to do what we feel is right. And then that feeling that you have felt that is right is sometimes judged. Why did you do that? You're supposed to do this. When something is wrong, people always have the better solutions. But when you are in the process of parenting this child, there's no one that is there to guide you. So it is very, very, very difficult. You can read self help books, but every parenting style for every child is different because the child is unique and the abilities and the talents and the gifts that God has given to the specific child is also difficult. It's different. So it makes the job extra difficult for us as parents. So to conclude the issue of parenting, I think that parenting is very difficult. In my sense, it's the most hardest thing that I could do. But then I have seen that the author of parenting is who? It is God. God is the author of parenting. I've learned in this week, like I've always known, but then it dawned down deep into my heart this week that parenting, you cannot do it without God. It's this children. The Bible says that children are a blessing from God. So every blessing that comes from God comes with expectation. God has like a manual of how we need to do it. So when things become tough and then there are nights that you can't sleep and you start crying, if you are a young parent, you won't know about what I'm talking about. But if you had teenagers, if you have got adults as children, you would know what I'm talking about. When you are at the place where you have got adults in your house as children or adults that you are parenting, it becomes very, very difficult. You got sleepless nights. You wonder, like, what will happen to my child? And one thing I'm passionate about is I am very passionate about family. I'm passionate about my children. I'm passionate about my marriage. That is just how God has wired me. I overthink parenting. I overthink marriage. That's just me. And I think that sometimes it does me good. Sometimes it's not so good. But we are not talking about that today. It's a story for another day. So going back to the author of parenting is very important, which is God. Like God expects us to be raising godly seed, right? We are expected. I'm now talking to those that believe that they're children of God and children are a blessing from God. I don't talk about those that believe that, okay, you need to look for your own parenting strategy. Okay, you are good to believe whatever you want, but I'm talking to them people that wants to raise their children in the ways of God and in the fear of God. But then sometimes you just get caught off that and you just don't know what to do. Go back to the author of parenting, which is the God. God is the one that gave you this child, and God is the one that knitted him. The Bible says that I knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. This child, before they were formed in their mother's womb. When we are talking about parenting right now, we are talking about our children. We're talking about the children that our partners have brought in. God already knew that child before he formed. He knew the attitudes they would have. They knew the personality traits they would have. They knew their strong points, their weak points. Whatever this child is going to carry, God knew it already. And for you to parent this child better, you need to go back to God and say, God, help me. And that is a lot of times that I find myself in a place where I've been overthinking. I've been worried about my children. And then once at a time, my brother told me that as a memory, you need to just give everything to God. Sometimes you cannot be over controlling, you cannot be overthinking stuff. Give it to God. And then that is the method that I've been using. Now, coming back to the hot topic of being a stepmother. Today, specifically, most, if we can check, coming to the topic of being a stepmother, which we also don't know if we are doing it right or wrong. You still come back to the author of parenting. God's idea was that a man meets a woman and then get married to a woman. Marriage back in the day was just having an intercourse, then you are married, and then raise godly seed. Because there is a thing called fallen angel. He came to deceive us, disguise us, make change culture. He made us believe it's okay, and then we sin, and we have those children outside marriage. And the devil is so cunning and scheming in his own. I don't want to use he's smart, but he's got the advantage of time that he knows that this child I'm gonna use to destroy this house. So because of the mistake that you just made, and unfortunately the law of God is that there are consequences for our sin. And our sin was to get that child outside God's idea. But a child is never a mistake. It is a blessing from God. He stacked up those receipts on our behalf. By the day we are supposed to be happy in our marriage, enjoy our marriage, is the day, boom, he makes that bomb explode on us. And this child that is supposed to be a blessing in your home becomes a headache. It becomes a thorn in your home. And when this child becomes a thorn in your home, baby, you are also just human at the end of the day. You also got feelings. You also want to be loved. You also want to be accepted. You also want to be appreciated. What do? You also start snapping because it is just normal for you to start snapping. But then that's where we are children of God. We need to be smarter for the schemes and the plots of the enemy. And when we need to be smarter for the schemes and the plots of the enemy, and the damage has already been done, the child is born outside wedlock, we need now to re-strategize this thing of parenting, being a stepmother to this girl, to this boy, to this child. Because a child needs love. A child needs to be raised in the ways of God. And a child needs to be accepted. And unfortunately, when this guy came to you, specifically this video is for women. Because I'm speaking from a woman's perspective. If this child has, if this man came to you and he said, "No, I've got children and I want to marry you, I love you, I'll do whatever it takes to be with you," you agree, right? You agree to the terms and conditions of whatever this marriage has to be. And you did not pre-think about those things. And then after agreeing a year or two or even few months into this marriage thing becomes now your biggest headache. Be smart, child of God. When this child starts being now a pain, just know it's the schemes of the enemy. Know that it is the schemes of the enemy just to destroy the initial plan that God had for his children to live in a godly marriage and in a godly home. So he uses this child, or he uses you. What I actually wanted to give today is being a stepmother is not easy, but it is possible. A child under your care is not just a child or a child that you need to raise in the fear and fairness of God. It's not just the child that you have given birth to. It is a child that God has entrusted you with. Some of you might not be sitting with stepchildren, but you might be sitting. Sometimes we also raise children that we have adopted, people's children that are staying with us, not just our husband's children. And it's very natural for you as a mother to show love to your child. It's very natural. There's nothing wrong with that. And it has to require you to put in an effort to show love to a child that does not belong. It is a conscious decision that you need to make. The fact that you decided to choose to be with this person that you have chosen to be with, and this person has this child, you need to make a conscious decision to love this child. You need to make a conscious decision to be fair with this child. You need to make a conscious decision to provide for this child. There was an instance that my sister told me that there is someone that she's staying with, and this person is staying with a child that is between the ages of 3 to 4 years old. That person allows that child to sleep alone in the room that sleeps with her biological child. And this person allows this child to bath in a cold water outside, but washes her child in the room. So I was just thinking, but how could someone really be that wicked to do that to an innocent child? You know, God has entrusted you with this child. God has brought this child into your life. And here you are, washing this innocent child with cold water. Heartless you are. And you're forgetting that it is an altar that you're starting to build. It is an altar that is starting to build in your home against your children. And then the Bible says that He is there for the helpless. Now, automatically, you are making God to be there for this child that you are mistreating, for God to protect this child, because He is the help to the helpless, right? That is what we say. That is what the Bible says. And you also know that when you are helpless, you are calling God to be your help. Now, when you are putting this child in a position of being helpless, who is going to be there for that child? Obviously, God. You are making God's wrath to build up against you because of this child, because you are being unfair. It's only this child that cleans the house. It's only this child that gets responsibilities. It's only this child that gets scolded. It's only everything has to be just the stepchild that is going through the thing. I'm not taking away the fact that sometimes these children have to learn responsibility, both our biological children and also the stepchildren. They need to learn responsibility, they need to own up, and then you need to discipline them all. But sometimes as stepmothers, we are really unfair with our stepchildren. Even stepchild does something, it is the highlight of the decade. It's only that you are speaking about. But once your child does something, you are the biggest cover up. You are covering that child of yours. Sometimes don't you sit and wonder why in a lot of families it's the stepchildren that thrive. It is the stepchildren that grow up and go out of the house and come and feed the parents. Why does that happen? It is because God checks the motives or checks the deepest part of your heart. Having stepchildren is just God blessing you with other children. Unfortunately, you did not bore them, but they are still your responsibility. The same measure of love that you have towards your own biological child is the same measure of love you need to have, because that child automatically becomes your child. The same measure of fairness that you need to administer to your own biological child is the same measure of fairness that you need to administer to this child. Because this child is innocent. This child never asked to be born. This child never asked to be in your life. But unfortunately, life happened that these things happen. And we need to learn to live with them. And we also need to be smarter for these children, because be it your own biological child or your stepchild, they will still scheme against you and your husband. They will still bring plots against you and your husband, because children are very smart. They check behaviors, they study behaviors, and whenever they study the behaviors of the parents, they manipulate the parent, they turn this parent against the other parent. What should we do as parents? We need to stand from our grounds and stand to the rules that we have established for both children, and we need to discipline the children in the same way, because in the absence of us not standing our grounds, this child takes an advantage of our weak leadership in the house, and then they will plot and scheme against us. So this does not only imply to your biological child when you put firm decisions, or just imply to your stepchild when you have to put firm decisions or firm rules. It implies to both your biological, your stepchild, because automatically the moment that child steps in your house, God expects you as a woman to be a fair mother to these children. Because when these children come in the house, there's nothing like step and biological. there's only children. And they need the love, they need the guidance. The Bible says that the woman will teach me, give instruction. I mean, is it the father that has to give the instruction and the woman has to teach, and the man is the one to discipline? So, if God expects us to teach our children in the ways of God, God did not say that children are just the ones we born. We need to really, 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 really sit down and be fair to these children, because the enemy is on another ball game. He is looking for the tiniest and the smallest things that we're wrong in order for him to accuse us. In order for you to take away cases from him, it is better to live a pure life whereby you need to be fair even to your stepchildren, even to the people that God brings on your path. Be fair. For me, in my house, if I put down a rule, that rule implies to everybody. In my house, there's nothing like I stand up and I buy one for my child and then the stepchild is left. No. Yes, obviously, we have pens whereby we say that this month is for who. That means that everybody knows it's happening like that. But time and time again, me just standing up and just by my own biological children. No, what is God going to say about me? I don't care what other people might think, my parenting style, but what I think about is what God thinks of me as being a parent, as being a stepmother to my stepdaughters. How is God really going to call me a good and a faithful servant? In order for me to get my reward, what is God gonna think about my parenting style? Is God gonna say, yes, as man, you were very unfaithful. You did not serve up to the purposes that I've given you. Sometimes you're looking for a place to serve in the church. Stop looking for a place to serve in the church. It is right in your house that you need to start serving. It is right in your house with those children that you need to make it right. Give peace. Sometimes even if they just show you the pepe, show them the love. Show them the love. The moment you start showing them love, excess love, love cures all. Even if the person is such a wicked person, when God transforms someone's life, God really transforms. And for you to get a reward, you don't need a reward from anybody else. You only need God to tell you that you are a good and faithful servant. That's just what it is all about. Duty calls, so I'll just go and say goodbye. See you very much. I'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you next time. Bye. Good afternoon. How are y'all?